Hey everyone, Jason Owens here for Campaign Sauce. I hope you are doing fantastic today. I'm going to walk you through the exact formula that I use when I'm trying to increase page speed on sites that are built with Divi. So if that's what you're looking for, stick around. All right, so the very first couple slides here are going to be very basics, very general, and sometimes we have the luxury of having influence over these, sometimes we don't. All right, so first one is use good design techniques from the start. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can design pages that are slow, right? And usually those pages have a lot of extra bells and whistles to them. They look fantastic. In general, if you have sites that look really sexy, chances are pretty good they're also going to be slow. Why? Because all the things that it takes to do the animation and all the overlays and all that stuff, right? All of that takes code, and of course all of that code slows things down a bit. So if you can use great design techniques from the start, that would be a huge help. Now again, oftentimes you are just given a site, you've inherited it, and you can't go back and redesign it, okay? No worries. But if you have the chance and you have the option, go ahead and design these pages to be super light. In particular, no animation on your text, no background videos, no massively sized background images. Just stuff that's really going to be super light. You don't want to do an awful lot of embeds, right? So anyways, but again, those are the things that make the site fun. So you kind of have this balance that you always have to play there. Okay, so the next thing is have some predefined image sizes. So if it's you and maybe a couple other folks who are working on the site, maybe you have one person who's kind of in charge of designing pages, you've got another person who's in charge of the blog. Well, go ahead and agree between yourselves what your maximum image sizes are going to be. What I've found lately in doing some site design work is that I love square images. Square images look great on desktop. They look great on mobile. Okay, so if I'm using square images, often I'm going to do a desktop. I'm going to have 2 or 3 of those that are side by side. So square images, I usually try to keep them when I'm uploading them. I don't really want them anything larger than 500 by 500 pixels. Sometimes I even go 400 by 400. Okay, landscape images. Again, you really don't want anything wider than 1080 pixels. Okay, so and it's very easy, right? So because we all have these phones, right? So we end up taking pictures and we just, let's just upload this to the website. Okay, all right. I mean, that's going to be a big file, and then WordPress is going to work to kind of render that thing down. But yeah, if you can, just to start off with, keep those image sizes small, and that way you don't have to worry about what version of the image you're picking later on, or why your page is slow and why everyone's using the large images. Okay? Now, again, this is one that you guys may not end up having any control over whatsoever, but I understand that if you have an Nginx site or an Nginx server, Divi actually prefers being on that kind of server. And if you kind of go in and Google that, Divi and Nginx, you'll find that that's kind of one of their recommendations there back from Elegant Themes. So anyway, but again, if your site is already on a non-Nginx server, there's not much you're going to do about it at the offset. So anyways, those are just 3 very simple basic things we do. Now we're going to pivot to where we get into more of the actual formula. And we'll actually, here in a little bit, we're going to dive out to a live page view as well, so I can walk you through some of this. Okay, I'm a big fan of Smush. It is a tool that is used to go compress the images. If you're out here doing page speed work over on Google, you will end up finding that you get this error a lot, to saying, hey, you need to serve your images in next generation formats. Well, until WordPress starts rendering everything into WebP format for us, well, we're going to have some plugins that will go out there and do the conversion. So I like Smush Pro. Smush itself is good, but the Pro version allows you the CDN, the Content Delivery Network. And for me, that's where the real bang for the buck is having that content delivery network. All right. You can try hosting again. So if you don't want to pay the extra, I think it's $5 or whatever for the Pro version, you can host those WebP images on your website. Okay, so there will be a folder inside of your media library that's going to have all of your images are basically just going to be copied and converted over to this WebP format. Oh, okay. I mean, that's nice. And yeah, that will make the error go away, but you're still not going to get the speed advantage of having this stuff kind of distributed out. I think the Pro, I believe they have 120 different servers across the US. So when you have your stuff physically closer to people, it makes it a little bit easier for them to get, and you get just a little bit more of a speed increase on that. So yeah, definitely would go for the CDN. All right. Here's a hard lesson for me that I learned. Okay, so I had Smush Pro installed. I have all my images. Most of my errors had gone away, but I'm still getting an error that says, hey, this background image is still in the old format. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm using Smush. This should be working. Well, come to find out, if you're using a background image, okay, so you go into Divi and you go into the design tab, or sorry, you go into background and you go ahead and define a big wide background image, which looks great, by the way. The way that Divi renders that, it renders it as a CSS file. Well, come to find out, again, through a lot of banging my head into a keyboard, Smush does not translate CSS files or images inside of a CSS file over into WebP format. So what I had to do, the fix was, I had to go find that image in the library. Then I had to export it. I used an online converter to convert that huge image over to a WebP format. Then I re-uploaded it to my media library as a WebP, not as a JPEG, not as a PNG. But when I re-uploaded that to the web library and then set it as the background image, now that is natively already a WebP, and now all of my errors went away. So anyway, long story short, that was a pretty big deal for me and something that I spent a ridiculous amount of time trying to figure out. So I hope that shortcut in itself is worth your time watching the video. Okay, moving on now. Hummingbird. Again, it's the same product family that brought you Smush. So I'm a really big fan of Hummingbird Pro. And again, I'm going to dive out here to the live version here in just a moment to show you some very particular settings that I use that I hope is the gold for you. All right, so here's one thing. So Smush has a content delivery network. Hummingbird also has a content delivery network. You are not going to just turn on, just flip the switch and go run over and do your page speed test and have some massive improvement. It just doesn't work that way. So again, if I remember correctly, it's 120 servers throughout the US. Whenever you flip the switch to turn on the content delivery network, it just takes time for those servers to get all of your images and to get your JavaScript and get your code distributed out to those servers. So it's just going to take time. So go ahead and set up these CDNs and give it 3, 4, 5 days, give it a week, give it 2 weeks. Again, that's all really dependent upon how much volume you're seeing in your servers. What I'm seeing right now for sites that get 100 to 200 visits per day, they're probably taking about a week before you're seeing really good, noticeable improvements over on the PageSpeed Insights. Okay, so again, if you just walk in there and you flip the switch and like, come on, where's my improvement? You're going to be a little frustrated with that. So just give it a little bit of time. Okay, so here's where things work out for me. So I go into Hummingbird, I go into some special settings, and I'm like, yes, I want to optimize the page speed. So I click this button and I go out to my PageSpeed Insights and I run it, and all of a sudden my PageSpeed Insights go from like, I don't know, it was somewhere in like the 30s up to like 97. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this software is awesome. It is awesome, but here's the thing. Whenever I said, yeah, go ahead and delay JavaScript, right? So just delay it all. It basically broke my page 6 ways to Sunday. So there was nothing to load, which is why it loaded really fast. Okay, so you want to go in and use some very selective settings in your page. So I'm going to dive out right now to some settings inside of Hummingbird that I hope are really, really worth your time here. So here's Hummingbird Pro. We go from Hummingbird Pro down to Asset Optimization. When you're inside Asset Optimization, you want to go to Extra Optimization. Okay, so this is where we get really granular on what JavaScript. Okay, so right here, I'm like, yeah, at the very top of the page, yeah, go ahead and delay that JavaScript, and it just boom, it just delays everything. Well, and breaks the page. So what I ended up doing was going into this delay JavaScript exclusions, and we can go in and start picking, well, I don't want to delay everything. Okay, for example, I have on one particular site, I have some animated text that comes in. And when I flipped this main switch to just delay everything. Well, my animated text wasn't loading. Okay, so that's not helpful, right? It breaks the page. So I went in and I just this was iterative, you guys. You're just going to have to go in and play with this to find what works for you. But let me at least give you some ideas of what worked for me. So I'm going to go ahead in here and just show you some of the items that I delayed. So you can just go into exclusion type as files. I go into, let's see, WP file jQuery core. I said, well, don't wipe that one out, because there's something in the jQuery core that whenever I delay it, it breaks my page. So I had to turn that on. So I said, hey, give me an exclusion. Don't delay that one. Okay. Going back, Smush lazy load, I went ahead and said, no, don't delay that. Media, yeah, there's a few here that have very similar names. And I found from my website that I was working on for my client that I had to turn these on in order to get some of the fancy stuff. Again, the animated text, the background video, all that kind of stuff. I had to turn this on as an exception in order to get the page not to break. So for me, I had to use media element core, media element migrate, and then there's a WP media element. So I had to apply exclusions for all of those. Also did an exclusion for, we have a number of elements for this particular website. We have some very sticky elements up in the header. So for this one, I had to go and say, hey, ET Builder modules script sticky. So I had to say, hey, allow me to load the header, right? Because again, if I didn't have this turned on, then it was really screwing up with my page. So anyways, and let's see, there's another one. Oh, the admin bar. Okay, so the WordPress admin bar at the top. I don't know that that's buying me a whole lot, but I still did it anyway. So this is the area right here, you guys, and it's iterative. I mean, you're going to have to go in here and choose something and go do the speed test, go run it, go load the page, see if it's going to work for you. So anyways, this for me ended up helping me move pages from, say, they started out in the 20s and 30s for a page speed score on mobile, and right now they're up well above 70. Okay, so it's helping a great deal. Still have some other work that I need to do there. I think on one particular client, I think we just have some background video that might be slowing us down a bit, but. Anyway, so this is it. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Again, my name's Jason Owens. I am with Campaign Sauce, and if you need some help with your websites, making them faster, if you need any help in revenue operations for your business, please reach out to me. Take care, everyone.